from producer to rock star, back to producer. It's going to be an epic moment for you. We got a new ITL. You're at Pensado's place.
Hey everybody, this is going to be a great show. My career is 100% tied to this man sitting across from me. We'll get into that in a little bit. Mm-hmm. How are you, Herbert?
Good, man. How about you?
Yeah, you know, I'm the wifey's got everything Christmas in the house.
I've seen.
Oh man, so I'm getting the Christmas spirit pretty good this year.
Absolutely.
Usually I get the Christmas spirit around mid-February, but I got it timely this year.
About a week away.
Yeah. You got any special plans?
Yeah, I'm coming to your house Christmas Eve.
I'm not going to be there.
Oh, well, me and the rest of your family are going to hang out.
Where you want me to hide the key?
I actually have one. She
made
good.
One
for me. So, but yeah, good year. A couple things for you guys. Welcome. Good to see you. Let's make sure we say hello to our Vintage King folks. In the chat room is our friend Darren Pendley. There's his page up on the screen. Darren, what's up? And always thanks, as usual, to Vintage King. And God, isn't this December 15th?
I want them to all ask Darren how to tell the difference between the different versions of an API 550.
Okay.
That'll keep them busy.
But we'll do that right after this. Oh, time for the giveaway. The Neve 1073. We're supposed to give away today? Give it away.
You want me to give it away?
No.
I don't know how.
Okay, so I'll give it away.
I know how to keep them and use them.
Well, I'll tell you
I like this move you just made. That was a classic Vanna White.
So before I announce the winner, Drew, can you give us a drum roll? You know who's in the corner doing our corner office. It's Drew, our CJ, not the DJ. There he is, Drew.
What to do.
Good. All right, so now, Drew, I need a drum roll. Very good. Can you give us one?
He's the drummer.
Give us
He's a real drummer.
The Neve 1073 winner goes to Word Life Productions. There they are up on the screen. Welcome, congratulations, Word Life Productions. We'll be getting that to you. Yeah, absolutely. Thanks to Vintage King for sponsoring this contest. And
that's a big ass horse you got on you, Van.
Thank you, Dave. And there's a reference to your. Dave, you look lost.
I'm looking at that horse.
Anyways, so as usual, we'll get to our corner office. You got your questions in the chat room. We're looking forward to that. I say, Dave, we get right to ITL. How about you?
Let's do it. Oh, it's good. Let's go. I'm
Roll
ready.
It, Will.
Hey guys, what's up? This might sound like a boring ITL, but I wanted to bring this one to you today because I was in the middle of a mix last few days, and I realized that I was doing some things that might not intuitively come to you guys, and I started questioning myself why I was doing it, and I realized that I did actually, for goodness sakes, I actually had a real reason for doing it. So what I want to do today is I want to show you how a lot of guys at this level, we don't accept effects the way they're given to us. We EQ the heck out of effects. One of the first people when I was coming along and learning, I had the privilege of meeting was Mick Gazowski, and Mick was really famous for using the Eventide 2016 reverb, which I use a lot too, and he would roll a lot of the high end off. So I'm told. I never asked him that, so I'm guessing. But to me, it sounded like he rolled high end off. I rarely heard anything above 5K. Sometimes it seemed like I only heard 4K. I started noticing I would like delay units like the Lexicon PCM42 and the TC Electronics 2290. And when I would compare their sound to the original, it seemed like there was a high end difference. So I just subconsciously started taking high end off of some of my effects. And today I was talking with Will, and I think the reason that works is because when we were all analog, analog and high end are not the best of buddies. And so during the analog days, you really didn't have to worry about high-end competing the way we do now. Like now, just an average record, it just has a lot more super ultra high end. So when you roll it off an effect, it leaves more room for the sparkle and shine. And I wanted this vocal to have kind of a very intimate feel. It's a real cool song done by my friend Nick Cooper, who's one of the top, if not the top, vocal coach and producer around. So I'm gonna play a little piece of this. This is with the effects, and then in the track, and then I'm gonna show you why I'm talking about all this stuff.
When your sky is falling, and the earth slips from your feet.
Pretty cool, man. Nick's amazing. Okay, guys, here's just the vocal soloed with the effects, with everything.
When your sky is falling, and the earth slips from your feet.
Okay, now let's deconstruct it. So let's take all the effects off.
When your sky is falling.
Okay, now one of the more important effects is there's two quarter note delays. Now this one delay here, what I've got going on with that is your basic just delay thing going on. Then you can see I'm rolling off a lot of top end. Looks like I'm starting, if this is 1K, this is 2K. I'm rolling off top end pretty severely at 3K, and low end pretty severely if it's 100, 200, 300, 400, 400, somewhere in there. And then on my little deverb guy, I'm high frequency cut 7. That's not as, sometimes I go lower. Let's go lower. So this is with just that.
When your sky is falling.
Okay, I'm not going to A-B every single effect. That's something you guys can do at home. Now, I felt like I needed a little more character to the quarter note effect. It felt a little too pretty. So what I did was I brought my buddy Echo Farm. Now this is the same. I think this is the same plugin I used on Buttons. So I'm reducing the bit rate, taking off a little bit of the top, and I'm feeding that to this guy here. So we got a pretty severe roll off here. And it looks like I'm rolling it from 600 and below and 3.5K and above. So, and then I'm feeding that to just your basic doubler. And this is what we've got with that.
When your sky is falling.
Let's just both of them together, both delays.
When your sky is falling.
You can hear that deverb. Okay, now I spent all this money to get me a Bricasti reverb, and I'm rolling top end off the thing. That's almost criminal. I'm taking off everything above about 4K from the Bricasti.
When your sky is falling, and the earth slips from your feet.
See, it just sits better with that frequency, that stuff gone. I don't know why. It's I think let's make up a name for it. Let's call it the Herbert effect. When you take high end off of effects, it's the Herbert effect. Okay, and then last but not least, I've shown you this before. This is a little harmonizer setting. I don't think I did anything special to it. No, nothing special. That's a great effect though, but we talked about that once before. Okay, so real quick, just because I know sometimes you guys like to know, I'm using this vocal rider, which I love. Check this out.
When your sky is falling and the earth slips from your feet.
I'm about to give Waves a quote for this thing, and my quote's just going to be amazing, so it's going to be pretty short. The main thing is this little slider right here. You got to pay attention to that. And then when you use this thing, make sure you send to the side chain from your drums and from your music. I've got live drums and programmed drums, and then here's my music, and I'm sending that to bus 30. So you see what I'm saying? Bus 30 to bus 30, and then I narrow the range where my fader can move in a little bit. Great piece of gear. Here's the basic de-esser that I'm using. I love this, Brainworks. I'm adding a little top end to the vocal. Our old buddy channel strip, a little bit of that. And then I'm taking out some 2500. So let's mute all these.
When your sky is falling. When your sky is falling. When your sky is falling, and the earth slips from your feet.
One quick thing, guys. Because the backbone of the vocal, I want it to be intimate, and the way I created that was a little bit of extra high end. And so I under de-essed it, but then it wasn't sitting right in the track, and so I felt like I needed something in the track to support it. Here's my guitar. It just didn't have enough support, so I took a UAD plug-in. All right, that's this week's ITL. I'll see you guys next week, and back to you, Dave. Was that a countdown for me? And I hope you got something out of that. I want to leave you with a couple of things, guys. As always, even though I showed you some of those techniques with effects for vocals, the concept will apply to any number of different instruments and any number of different things. And I forgot to say, when you come up with something cooler than I did, let me know so we can both benefit from that. But it's not mind-blowing like some of the stuff we've done, but very, very useful. I hope you really spend some time with that technique and see the usefulness of it, because it really is a technique that a lot of us use. And a big shout out to Nick Cooper, who produced that, and one of the top vocal, Nick is the top vocal producer in the world today, and incredible producer, writer, and thanks to Dick for that. So Herbert, can I jump right in? I gotta talk.
Please.
I gotta talk.
Introduce our guest.
Okay. Bret, Epic Mazur. Pretty much everybody I owe my career to is sitting at this table except for Richard Wolff.
And Kevin Fleming.
Yeah. Richard Wolff will be a guest on our show really soon, but Wolff and Epic were pioneers in the remix world. I'm not sure that I can remember a big remix before Wolff and Epic and me did all the Belle Biv DeVoe stuff. And Bret was like, man, he was like 16 or 17, just really young when we started all that out. Bret, man,
Oh, welcome.
It's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, good to see you.
It's been fun kind of seeing, you know, my career, your career, and Bret guys. I mean, we don't have enough time to name all his hits, so just the highlights. I mean, early hip hop, he was just, he was very instrumental. A lot of what you guys are doing today is a result of what Bret was doing in the late 80s. Incredible stuff. And then he got to a point where he wanted to branch out, so he started a little group called Crazy Town. They had they sold a couple million albums and had a #1 Billboard hit with Butterfly. Toured, played Ozfest, played you know, just a huge career with that. And then so he says, well, okay, that's kind of fun. Now I'm gonna put together something else. So now he's got LAX, which is an incredible group. That they I'm rambling, aren't I, Herb? Okay. Bret, man.
What up?
Good to see you.
Good to see you too.
How important was your high school experience, your development? You described it to me, and I just get jealous every time I hear about that. You went to the same high school my daughter did, but explain how that shaped you and got you to your start, and how important it was to have those friends and influences.
That's an amazing first question. You just knocked it out of the park with that one. It's huge. I went to Taft High School in Woodland Hills in the Valley. And there's a huge flashpoint in LA, in the San Fernando Valley, in the late 80s. And in my high school was, myself and Everlast and Danny Boy from House of Pain, Ice Cube, Brad, who's the drummer of Rage Against the Machine. Who am I missing? Divine Styler, who's a hip hop icon. I mean, a lot of people may not know who Divine Styler is outside of, the inner circle of the grassroots of hip hop, but he inspired groups like the Black Eyed Peas and I.Am and a lot of the native tongue movement back then, and there was just something going on, and it wasn't just in my high school, but especially on the West Coast, where we had to fight so hard. It wasn't like today where everything is nationwide and worldwide instantaneously online.
There was no West Coast back then.
No, you had to fight to get it, and it was just it was hugely instrumental, in forging what I was trying to do.
You would say that having that nurturing kind of camaraderie was instrumental in helping you shape your career. I mean, because you were doing stuff that had never been done before, and you turn around to this guy who apparently had good taste, and what do you think? What do you think? Nah, it sucks, man. You're not hard. This is what you got to do. I mean, it must have been just an incredible thing, because you came out of a household. Your dad discovered Billy Joel, managed Billy Joel. Yeah. Which I'm not sure that contributed a lot to your musical career.
Well, it definitely did. I mean, I grew up being in recording studios.
Right.
So, it just definitely, I had experience knowing what it was all about. And I remember one of my dad's closest friends, he was producing Kiss when I was a little kid. And so I remember asking my dad, what is a producer? And he explained to me that a producer is kind of like the director of a movie, and that the producer almost ends up becoming a member of the band, but yet they get to go be a member of every other band that they work with as well.
You said that's the coolest thing I've ever heard.
And that ended up becoming that had to be the measuring stick, and it still is today. If I'm working with an artist, whether it be, I do a lot of writing too on records that I may not even be producing, and I've been fortunate enough to work with a lot of amazing producers as a writer as well. But either way, when I get involved with an artist, whether it be producing or writing, if we're not gelling, almost like we're in this together. It kind of, it will reflect in the final product, and so I just thought it was the coolest thing in the world, and I just, I set that in my mind. That's what I wanted to do.
Were you already, because you started scratching and got your turntables at 13, were you already, DJing it, but when you had this epiphany?
Yeah, well, DJing and playing the drums started at roughly around, well, drums started a little bit earlier. But DJing and playing the drums had a point where they were two separate things. And then they started getting closer and closer and closer into merging into, what I wanted to do. And now it's like, for instance, with LAX, with the new band, I got my DJ set up on stage, and I got my octapads and my keyboard, and so everything I'm doing, even as an engineer, producer, as a drummer, as a DJ, is all happening on stage now. I mean, credit it to technology, obviously, but yeah, I mean, I started really young, and I mean, I was DJing at clubs here in LA at 16. I wasn't even old enough to get into the clubs, and I was told by the promoters I had to stay in the DJ booth. I was not allowed to leave the DJ booth.
How funny! Wow.
Yeah.
With your group LAX, one of the things I've noticed, because we've worked so much together, you love drums, you love beats, you love what that does in a song, but yet, I think what's made you successful is you also love harmonies. I mean, you love to hear vocal harmonies. You love, I mean, that's all music is, grooves and hooks, I mean, so you got all the building blocks you need. How has that served you well in terms of, like even your drums have a harmonic quality to them. They're not just beats, like your drums are in tune. Is that something that just comes naturally from within, or?
Yeah, it comes naturally from within, and not to mention, there's many ways to get to the end result. Obviously, there's more than two ways to skin a cat. But the way I usually skin a cat is I start out with the kick drum, and whether that be a single kick drum or something that I kind of mash together. That's going to end up predicting my snare. That's going to end up predicting my hi-hat, if there is a hi-hat, and so on and so forth. That's not to say, I may start out with a bass line or whatnot, but in that order of things, everything has to kind of match and sound good together,
And without that foundation, it doesn't feel like you've got a real song, right? I mean, there's something driving you to do that. Like your workflow, like you start with a kick, like Butterfly, it started that way?
Actually, Butterfly started out as the beat. And it was just a typical, hip hop beat. I mean, at that time that we were doing Butterfly, a lot of the record was already made pretty much, and it was definitely a combination of rock and hip hop.
I mean, the rest of the album was already made.
The rest of the album, and we wanted to do something that was like strictly hip hop, because that's we started out as two guys making a hip hop record, and then what we wanted to do was as a band was more reflective of what we were doing in the studio, which was incorporating live drums, which was incorporating the guitars and the bass and everything else. So that being said, the drums were there, and we were close enough to the guys from the Peppers, from the Red Hot Chili Peppers, that when we had this loop, we reached out and said, is it cool that we use the loop? Because we were going to actually just replace it with something, you know? And we said, no, let's stay true to hip hop and use the loop. And, you know, they don't ever sign off on samples, you know? Right. And they said, use it. And we're like, you know what? Tribute to them, you know, let's keep it hip hop, let's keep it raw. And you know, not to mention, you know, you brought up the song, you know, there's a lot of songs that may have great production. But at the end of the day, if something's really going to resonate, it has to be a great song, you know?
Absolutely.
So let's not forget that.
Yeah. You said the pain in your life is what produces great songs. So that was a great song. You went through a lot of pain in your life, I guess. And another quote of yours I like is, it's this or nothing. I mean, when you decided to go into music, it was music or nothing. There was no plan B. There was no...
No, there was no plan B. I mean, I was in my first semester of college, and I got an opportunity to get an internship at SBK Records. You remember SBK? Yeah, Charles Koppelman. And I got an opportunity to get an internship there, and that was about the only thing that was going to allow my parents to sign off on me not going to college. Right. And it's funny, when I was interning at SBK, which was EMI, and you know, I had just done my first remix for New Edition for Any Heartbreak.
Oh, I'll be doing.
And so they have me like filing stuff and answering the phones and sitting at the front desk. And meanwhile, I got a song running up the charts, bigger than anything they had on the charts as a record label.
Oh,
you know,
cool.
Yeah,
that's pretty cool.
It was cool.
I sometimes miss the remix days. You miss those. It seemed like it was when you have to come up with the entire idea yourself. I don't have that gift. You do, but the remix days allowed me to have ideas, but I could start with somebody else's creativity and you know, amplify that. And then of course I learned everything I know about remixes from you and Richard. But your workflow, I'm fascinated by it because I've seen you work, and it just there's some kind of magic involved. Like, are you still predominantly using pads? In other words, are you still using like programming your drums with pads? Are you programming them through a keyboard? Or are you drawing them in?
You know, I gotta be on pads. I did plenty not on pads in the past few years. We were just talking about machine. You know, that's been a huge little breakthrough for me because it just seamlessly ties in, you know, my existing library of sounds, and the way it works is so similar to, you know, an MPC or an SP1200, which is what I started out on. And it's just more enjoyable, and the workflow is just smoother. Before that, you know, it's obviously, you know, playing on a keyboard, but I like the pads much better. But, you know, at the end of the day, it's happening up here first, you know. So the way you get to that point of what you're hearing in your head, it's just semantics, you know. But it's just cooler and quicker and more fun being on the pads. And if you're not having fun, you know.
What impressed me about you was there would be nothing there. You would come into the studio, and back then I was recording a lot of the stuff too, not just mixing, and you had such a unique, clear, defined vision of what you wanted to do. 2% this way ain't gonna happen. 2% this way ain't gonna happen.
Yeah.
You had just a clear vision of the sound, the emotion, the feeling. Are you just born with that? Can you learn that?
You know, I think it's hard to tell, you know, because I only know my experience. And I know that something has to hit me on like on a deep visceral level, which is part of the reason why I think anybody, like you mentioned harmonies, you know, why anybody likes harmonies. Like, what is the emotion that you're trying to get? What does that evoke, you know? And that goes the same thing with drums or a song or chord transitions, you know? And at the end of the day, I may not have known all the time exactly what I wanted it to be, but I knew the feeling that I wanted it to give me. And so when that feeling is hit, you gotta grab onto that and not let it, and you can overshoot that. You know, you can focus in on something too much, and we do it all the time as creative people, right?
All the time.
So it's like you're there, and then you want to try to make it a little bit better, and it's like sometimes you have to be your own critic and say, no, we're there right now, you know, which is kind of what we did with Butterfly. You know, we were supposed to replace the sample, you know, but it's like, why do it?
Yeah, right.
Why do it?
Because sometimes the access to technology can push you past the point, just because you can.
Yeah.
Right. So
Yeah.
you have to govern yourself.
You have to govern yourself, and you have to separate your professionalism and your job of what you're doing and the love of what you're doing, and try to stay on that love track. You know, try to stay on that, you know, feel-good train.
You almost have to become your consumer.
You do. You have to become your consumer. Yeah.
One thing I've noticed, because I've been blessed to work with a lot of great producers, and at the end of the day, they just have taste that they have a type of taste that the rest of us aren't blessed with. Like they know, guys like Bret know what sounds good and how to make it work within the framework of all these other instruments and things. You've gone from hip hop, and when you were creating back then, there was no records to copy. It was all new. That's what was so amazing about what you did. Then you went a little bit to the rock. Now you're incorporating all of those elements into a new band, LAX, that has more dance influences, more electronic influence. Has your workflow changed? Has the process changed through those three periods? Like, let's call it the hip hop period, the rock period, and the more pop electronic period. Does the creative process change? Does your workflow change?
The workflow has definitely changed because there's a lot more synth programming involved, and obviously as new software comes out. So you're constantly trying to make sure your workflow stays as quick as your vision, you know.
If your grandmama said, epic, how'd you make that new song on LAX? Give me like the Reader's Digest version of that process for someone that's just learning and just trying to figure out what to buy, what to get into.
What's
your process for creating now?
Okay. I like to start out with, it's great when we have a concept, a song concept. So we have a song called We Give No Fucks. Am I allowed to say that on here? Yeah. So we have a song called We Give No Fucks, which started out as, you know, me and Antonella and Craig in the studio, and one of the, Antonella would always, you know, we'd be clowning around, and Antonella said...
Describe quickly who Antonella is.
Okay, Antonella Barba. She is basically the front of LAX, and it's spelled LA-EX, by the way. And actually, LAX, it was supposed to be the LA Experiment. She's from New Jersey. You know, I'm originally from New York. Craig is from New York. So, you know, at the end of the day, this was like the LA Experiment, but... You know, she could be your LAX girlfriend, you know, whatever, you know, LAX, the airport, I don't know. It just ended up becoming really cool. So Antonella, she was a finalist on American Idol, I think season 7 or 6 or something like that. And she's a bona fide superstar.
Great singer.
The reason why it worked out with Antonella is she ended up moving to LA, and at the time, LAX was just Craig and myself, and it was just going to be like this underground, cool electronic thing that we were doing ourselves. But, you know, we had all these song ideas, and it was like, if we had the right girl to front this thing, it would be amazing. So I wouldn't want to just take any normal, you know, ex-American Idol finalist, but she had an edge to her. You know, she got caught up in a scandal, which was completely idiotic because pictures came out of her online. They weren't pornographic or anything. They were just, she was, you know, it was a little risque. And there was this little bad girl image that was tagged onto her, and it's like, well, that's perfect.
For the group.
Perfect for the group,
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
Not to mention, she's just a down-ass chick, you know. So in the studio, she would, back to We Give No Fucks, I forgot what we were talking about, and she's like, I give no fucks, you know? I'm like, that's the song right there. So we gotta, you know. So in doing that, so knowing that, you know, I just started banging the beat together, programmed the synth, you know. It's kind of like this, like, glitch hop, dubstep-y kind of thing, you know.
And where did the idea for the beat come from at that point? All you had was a phrase.
Because I just, in my head, I'm starting, you know, I kind of had this like, you know, I just had this like groove in my head, and then I heard her saying in my head, you know, we give no fucks, you know, and it's just one of those stupid, can't get it out of your head songs, you know, not the deepest thing in the world, just something to have fun with.
Fortunes are made from those things.
You know,
yeah.
and we love those things, and so the main beat starts, and then we sit down, we start writing flows, we start writing raps, you know, and the flows come first, you know. It's like, how does a flow gotta go?
Did you already have the hook at that point, apart from the line?
Yeah, we usually start with the hook first, and so the hook is a combination of her saying "We give no fucks" and me singing, you know, the melodic part of the chorus.
So you've got your pads, you've got your collection of samples that you've put together over the years. You've got
Right.
the beat.
Yeah.
You've got the hook delineated.
Yeah.
And now you're using virtual synths to flesh out the harmonic part.
Yeah, using virtual synths and the drums, and once we have the basics down, then we go back again, and we start doing the tricks. We start doing the chop edits. You know, maybe make some lyric changes here or there.
Give like for the new kid.
Yeah.
Well, actually, a good way for you to tie in some batter's box questions when you're talking about his tricks and stuff. So you can just combine it.
Right, do batter's box right now?
Just work it all in.
Okay, let me add chop edit to my thing.
There you go. There you go.
Because I'm a big BT fan, so.
All right.
Are you ready for batter's box?
I hope so. I feel like it could make me look really stupid. I mean, I do what I do.
Just say next. I don't want to answer that one. That's what everybody else does.
All right.
Okay, synth bass.
Massive's awesome.
Massive.
Zebra's awesome.
Oh, zebra.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, like the buzzy kind of bass sounds that you hear in a lot of Eurodance stuff.
Starting to get played out.
Yeah. Okay, I'll take that. That's a good one. Okay.
Not starting to. Like, it's over.
Got it.
I mean, the feeling that you can get from that will never die. Let's start finding a new way to get that feeling.
Man, I was listening to satellite radio. I can't do that. I got to keep going. Kick drum.
Point and bottom.
You get that through sample or through outboard gear?
I would rather get it through the sample. As soon as I have to start leaning too much on the outboard gear, I probably got the wrong sounds. So it's usually a mixture between an 808 or a 909 with, you know, something with the right point characteristic over it.
808.
Will never die.
That's true, isn't it? The most famous drum sound on the planet. Everybody knows what
I mean,
808 is.
Let's go back to when we started working together. You know, I would have to blast, and we're at some of the top studios in the world, at Conway, Larrabee or wherever it may be, and it's like I would drive everybody out of the studio because I had to turn it up to 11, you know, and make sure that 808 was bumping the right way.
What'd you say?
Yeah, exactly.
Man, we monitored loud in those days.
Yeah.
What's your go-to keyboard synth?
My go-to keyboard synth, it depends. I don't ever want to lean on anything too much on any one song. The thing that you have to remember when working, especially on one song, is that you don't want to overuse one synth because they all kind of color something the same way. So if you have a song completely laden with massive, or I'll even throw in some Reason synth, You have to treat some of these the right way because they all have their own characteristics, And if your song is completely filled with one synth, it's, it's not.
What's the plugin you hit me to recently?
Sugar Bites.
Yeah. You're using that a lot?
Yeah. We have an endorsement deal with Sugar Bites, which I love because we love them, and
I like that plug-in too.
Yeah. The Sugar Bites bundle is great and it's fun. I usually deal with them once the meat of the song is done.
Okay, guitars, because I know you're really good with guitars.
It's all about the Twin nowadays, the Fender Twin. We're definitely trying to mic them up.
So you're using real amps as opposed to
absolutely,
emulations?
yeah. I mean, we'll combine it, but we're gonna mic it, and that's exactly how we're moving away. I'm giving a little secret away here.
That's Pensado's place. That's the whole point.
That's look for that in LAX. We're moving away from the buzzy bass by adding the guitars.
And while we're giving away secrets, you can give us the password for your checking account. That's something every guest does, right, Herb?
Yeah, we post it on the website.
Yeah. Right. I'm assuming the kick snare is the same thing as the kicks, but snares, I learned from you, have a particularly sacred part of the process that they have to take care of. What's your snare? What's your go-to snare?
It depends on the song. These days, and it depends on the time. Things have their trends. Obviously, snares have their trends, as do hi-hats and kicks.
Yeah.
But there's got to be some sort of clap or a snap over it. I think audibly in there, but it's always been that way for me.
I've seen Bret say, "Hey, check this song out." Hey, hear the first snare and turn it off. It's not happening.
Yeah, but it depends. I've always liked a little bottom on the snare, but not too much.
I got a question. Drew, you get ready for a couple questions for Corner Office. Yeah. This musical journey, from Taft and that influence and how it happened musically and blended culturally into it became a career path and then rock. And how do you feel about the scene that you're in now where you're going with the LAX and how does it stimulate you as a writer and producer?
Like I said, when it started out, we were just basically trying to do more of this DJ-oriented underground thing. And that community is a very tight-knit, real community.
Yeah.
But at the same time, that can hold you back because you end up being a slave to what you've done.
Right.
So we said, let's forget about it, just like everything else. Let's just do what we love. And at the end of the day, that's what it has to be about. And at the same time, I love radio hits too.
Yeah.
Yeah. And at the same time, I want to bring something that I'm doing to the masses, and I want to bring them into my world. So so when I started out, let's just if you want to talk about the early hip hop stuff I was doing or Belle Biv DeVoe. At the end of the day, like you were saying, you kind of have to marry the right way your love of what you're doing and the business of what you're doing. And I don't know. Did that answer your question?
Yeah, well, that's what I find in knowing you as long as I've known you, unique about your vision, that somehow you synthesize what's going on. You don't forget about hits, like you honor that, but you find a way to make that process feel new.
Yeah.
And so that kind of vision is always fascinating to me because some people are replicating, there's nothing wrong with that. Some people are looking over their shoulders. Some people are trying to look forward and can't see it, and some guys have it and look forward and they come up with something I'm excited to hear from. So I was just curious about your process. Drew, hit us something from the Corner Office.
Okay, from Too Radic. Do you think rock, rap, and new metal music will be back on the charts in the future in mainstream?
Definitely. I think in one way or the other, it will definitely be back, and I think it will progress. Hopefully it does progress. Everything comes back around, you know, and it's just going to be a new
It
way.
almost never leaves. It's just popular and more or less at different times.
Yeah, you know, the mixture of genres is always going to happen.
Say that word again?
The mixture of genres.
Genres. Okay, got it. Inside joke.
Oh, okay.
I can't say that word.
No.
From Dark Pine Studios, what part of your workflow that's changed over time was the hardest to change, but you should have given up sooner?
Oh, great question, Dark Pines.
Wow. What part of my rock flow? One more time.
Workflow. Like something that your go-to, but you hung on to it a little bit too long, probably.
You've grown and evolved. What part of that evolution was the hardest to get to?
Or that I held on too long.
That he held on to too long.
Wow, that's such a good question. I don't know.
Probably me as a mixer. That was one of them.
Yeah, right. You know what? That would be it. 100% is that when I started, it was so easy to keep yourself surrounded by a great team, like working with you. And as things became more accessible, as far as what you could do on your own in your own studio, you found less opportunity to interface with those people that brought so much to the table, you know, and so that you have to end up taking on, you know, so if anything, trusting and relying on my own skills
Yeah, that's scary.
in certain aspects,
Yeah.
you know.
Very real.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is Dark Pines in North Carolina?
We don't know.
I can email him.
Go ahead.
Okay. Question for Dave. How do you decide on what reverb to use for what application? I always end up going through all types, but can never decide what works best.
What? Whose question is
That's
it?
from Stephen Sheath.
Okay, Stephen. Sometimes I do the same thing. I'll go through everything I own, but normally what I try to do is hear it in my head, like Bret was talking earlier. He hears the parts, and like the ITL we just had, I just wanted a clear reverb that didn't take up a lot of space, but that like did the things I want a reverb to do. Think about what you want to accomplish with the reverb, because it's not the sound of the reverb that's important, it's what the reverb makes you feel. So try and get the feeling that you want to get from a particular effect, and then choose the effect that gives you that feeling. I hope that helps you.
One more, Drew.
Alrighty. From Mr. Drino, when mixing vocals, what can you expect from tracking engineers in terms of processing and tracking? Are there timing issues that need to be dealt with? I guess we can both kind of answer that, huh, Dave? From Mr. Drino.
For who?
Oh, for Dave.
Well, gosh, you know, there's so many different engineers. I personally, I felt like I wanted to know, like when I worked with Bret, he was a big SP1200 guy, and I wanted to know everything about the SP1200. So if Bret had a problem, I could just go, oh, well, just do this, and I'd look like a genius. When MPC 60s came around, I learned those. I learned how to program DX7s. I think a good engineer makes himself useful on every level. I hooked up a major artist. I hooked up her washer and dryer. I mean, I think you should know everything about everything, and then be musical, be humble, be an asset, be quiet. Cats like Bret, like Epic, they want you to help them move the process along, but be transparent when you do it. There's times when they'll ask for your opinion. Don't give it. If Bret would ask me, what do you think about this beat? I would never go, you know what, the snare could be this and this. It just destroys his whole train of thought. You just give encouragement. You say, man, it's really great. It's really great. And then 30 minutes later, he'll go, I'm going to punt this. I didn't have to do anything. I just encouraged. So engineering is a 2-year course that I could expound on, but hopefully that'll give you some little little insights and concepts as to what a great engineer should be and what you should expect in the process. Expect more. And when you don't get it, find somebody else. There's a lot of great engineers.
Okay. Well, I guess this could be for Dave and Bret. From Mr. Drino again. What do you think about mixing in mono to check for EQ and phase issues, then mixing in stereo?
You have an opinion on that?
Mixing in mono and checking for phase issues?
Or using that to, no, like for EQ and possible phase issues, I guess is the point.
It sounds more like a Dave question to me.
Yeah. You manipulate mono in the old days as good as anybody, because that was what we were trying to do. Was we were trying not to have all this going on the sides and everything. We wanted it dead straight. Mr. Drano, you know what, let me do an ITL on that if you don't mind, because I think it's an important question. It's a question we've addressed on several shows, nothing major, but I think that's something we should probably discuss. I actually made this statement a few shows back that mono's dead. Don't worry about mono, but that was just to be funny. But you've got a great question, and just to give you a hint, I don't really worry too much about mono. If you're a TV producer, are you going to worry about black and white, what your TV show looks like on a black and white TV? So I don't really worry about it, but there are uses for it. But let me do that in an ITL. Great question.
So, Drew, you have one more for Bret specifically?
I don't.
Okay, cool. Now, let me ask you a question then.
Yeah.
Have you enjoyed this walk down memory lane?
It's been amazing. It's great to sit here with you guys.
Yeah, absolutely, guy. When you think about, like I said, you had Kevin Fleming to the mix, and Richard, and we kind of go back to the beginning of all of our careers.
Yeah.
I wish one day we could take a film crew and just watch Bret create something. It's like nothing you've ever seen, Herb.
Be a great idea.
And like when we mixed, like one of our biggest hits.
Yeah, 100%.
One of our biggest hits was "Thought It Was Me." We actually had the two SP1200s running live at the studio, and we're about to print, and he's still making changes. I mean, we'd been working on that mix for a while, and because back then we'd create everything in the studio. There was nothing created at home. It was all created in the studio. I'm having sync issues, and it's like torture, and then he's making changes. In fact, on the take that's on the record, you actually played a couple of things while the tape was running to the 2-track.
I did?
Yeah.
All right.
I mean, it was that cool. I'd love for people to see the
Thank
process.
you for coming, man.
Yeah.
Certainly appreciate it.
Yeah.
I want to thank him for coming.
Oh man, thank you. Well, I see him. We're working together, so I see Bret a lot.
Let's thank. Congratulations to Word Life Productions for winning the 1073. You want to speak to? There they are. They're up on the screen. So again, we'll get that out to you, and hopefully you'll enjoy that for Christmas. You want to speak really quickly because we need to go about our little.
Till Christmas.
Want to speak a little bit about what happened last week to us? We have to wrap. So about what happened with you two? I guess you don't. So you want to wrap up and let's go.
You're talking about we were number 9 on YouTube?
Yeah, I mean it's so let's thank. We want to thank you guys for the support.
I guess I didn't do that very well.
Not that well. So let's support. You guys have been so supportive of us. Last week we ended up breaking into. Now this is a daily thing, so it happened on Saturday. Actually, on Pensado Place Facebook page, Will had posted that we broke number 11. And then a day later, we got an email from Will that we broke into number 9 ahead of shows like The View and other kinds of things, which was really crazy. But that's thank you guys for the support for this show. What a great way to end the year. And we're going to try to bring bigger and better to you. So, and you also want to check out Bret's website. It's la-exmusic.com. Go there. It's a very cool thing, correct?
Yeah, go there and then shoot over to our Facebook page, become a friend so that we can get you all the information, and there's a free download when you friend us on
Great.
on Facebook, and
Cool.
yeah,
Cool.
January it starts coming out. Thanks, guys.
Say goodbye.
Okay, guys. We'll see you next week. That'll be our last show before the holidays, and we trust everyone's going to have a great holiday. Talk to you soon.